Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. Pretty substantial amount of content came out today, and courtesy of Christian Lorenz Schurer. I guess he has a whole bunch of concept art that gives us a true glimpse of what the Steppenwolf invasion could have ended up looking like if Zack Snyder was allowed to follow through with his vision without any sort of compromise. So this looks awesome. I mean, it looks like a real nightmarish world. It doesn't have that weird red tint to it. It's truly nightmarish. It looks almost Geiger-esque, if I might say so. And the actual what do you call the shield that's around that area where Steppenwolf was, it was actually more looking like almost like I want to say a Star Destroyer shape, like that diamond prism shape, instead of what we saw, that bluey, bubbly, kind of gooey looking shield. And it shows you how Batman gets in there and stuff like that, and how it destroys the tower and stuff. But he has all these weird designs, kind of like very insect looking, kind of like how the parademons look, but in a larger, grander scale. And you also have these weird red crosses that are up there, and Steppenwolf looks mighty as hell. He looks way better than what in the film version looks, and he's just floating up like that, like an alien. And he is an alien. He's a new god, and there's got these red little crosses, almost like someone on Twitter mentioned it perfectly. It looks like Evangelion. The artistic style of that is such a strong art form in that sense. It's foreboding, it's dark, it's almost biblical in a lot of senses, and it looks fantastic. I wish the movie looked like that. Who knows what the actual supposed to be in the trailers that we got, where it was the Zack Snyder trailers, where it had a kind of a dark bluish hue, more along the lines like this. You don't get to see the full scope of it. It was already altered by that point, or he never had a chance to fully do the post-production on that to make it look like that. Instead, we got these weird bubbly, kind of rolly tunnel things, worm things that are happening, and with alien flowers, and it's just like, okay, it takes away from the nightmare. It takes away from the feeling of hopelessness, and I think that's what we could have got. I think if given the time and how much work he had to put in it, it could have looked much like what it looks like here. Very scary, very nightmarish. The red lines here, it has like a blood, like almost like blood to them. So it's very man, you have a feeling of there is no hope there, and that is good, because having it look like that, nightmarish, very scary, would give you the sense that you're rooting for these heroes to get the hope back, right? Like I said before, when it's very dark, when you're in a room that's really dark and you see a light bulb, you only go to it because that all of a sudden that becomes the center of your attention, and you're aching for that light. You keep going to that light because everything else is dark. If the whole movie was light and fun, then you wouldn't have the sense of needing that light and that hope. You have to have the sense of dread, and ultimate dread, like an invasion like this. It would have been quite something to see. It would have been much more fulfilling when that hope in the form of Superman came, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that, because in one of the pictures I noticed that there was Batman right on the bottom. He has his little rifle. He's right there in the midst of everything. He's got the new Steppenwolf right in the middle, and him, a lone human, is going to take that on from what it looks like in that picture. And I think that would have been really powerful. He was really willing to self-sacrifice himself to save humanity by going at it alone against a new god. It was kind of like in the comics in I forgot which one was that. I think it was the Batman Superman where he went against Darkseid by himself. He went to take him on himself. And that's powerful stuff because he knows he's going to die, but he's willing to do that. He's willing to sacrifice. He's in a case a lot of people would, say that that is along the more lines of what we could have gotten with Zack Snyder's Justice League, is that he was a little bit more suicidal. I mean, for the guilt of and his old age, he's ready to take it on. He's ready. He might have even sacrificed himself in this movie, who knows, but I don't think so in this version of it. At least I think originally when Zack Snyder had told everybody that he was doing a more he was inspired by Seven Samurai. Yeah, he didn't really say that, but he said that Batman is the one who seven samurais getting all the people together to save the world, right? And that was during the beginning of production. That was during around the time when they started, before they started production, and he had pretty much full control. And that's where you got the part 1 and part 2. So if you look up Seven Samurai, they have part 1 and part 2 in that movie. It's a huge, long movie. Part 1 is pretty much just getting everybody together, and part 2 they actually all come together and they build traps in the town, and they're at the town waiting for the bandits to come in, and so that might not actually happen here, but in a sense, the invasion, maybe them going to this place, would have lasted a lot longer. That whole movie was combined into one. They could have been two-parter with Steppenwolf and Darkseid. Maybe Steppenwolf calls Darkseid and stuff like that. You could definitely envision a little bit of that happening. First one setting up the Justice League, part 2 the final battle, and maybe that was too long for Warner Brothers to do. They wanted they wanted a beginning and end in one, cramped into one movie, and that's why Zack Snyder made that one compromise. And I don't know. Zack Snyder did put out a photo today, one with his belt that he had specially made for himself, and he was pretty responsive to fans in some of those Vero posts, which is kind of cool. But it shows him lifting weights, no biggie, no big deal. But when you look at the photo closer here, you can see on the left-hand side, there are posters of what looks like Toshiro Mifune in various movies. And of course, there's Seven Samurai, there's Yojimbo, but you look at that and it's like, okay, there was some Seven Samurai, or he just appreciates Akira Kurosawa movies. But on the right side, you see figures of Batman. You see the figures of Wonder Woman, and it gets you imagining too when the poster that they had originally put out, Unite the Seven, or Unite the League, and it shows him very cool looking. All the heroes are looking over to the left, and you're like, that looks so familiar, right? Well, it looks just like the Seven Samurai poster, and that's why the thumbnail, I put the Seven Samurai in the Justice League. Some cool fan did that. That was such an awesome poster. I had to use it, and it's so cool. You can see the similarities between there Seven Samurai and Justice League. In Seven Samurai, each character, each samurai, or well, Kikuchiyo wasn't really a samurai, but they just let him in. But everybody had their own kind of quirks and their characterization. Maybe one was better with a bow and arrow. Still, they're really like superheroes in its respectful ways. And Seven Samurai just brought a whole generation of like Magnificent Seven, even inspired things like Bug's Life, and to a certain point, Avengers and Avengers: Age of Ultron were like Seven Samurai in a sense. Everybody had their special abilities, protecting a town and stuff. And so I wish Justice League had that fulfilling urge, that dreaded hopelessness, that all the heroes are down and luck, they're losing. There's way more parademons in this shot, in these concept art than what we had in the film. It should have been invading. Nobody's smiling. Nobody's making quippy jokes. It's yeah, depressing in a way, but you're feeling the feeling of that hopelessness wasn't there. I wanted to feel that so that when it was time for Superman to show up, everybody would be like coming out of their seats, says, yeah, it's like how Wonder Woman, and we kind of felt that, we kind of like, Superman's here, but it just didn't feel that impactful. I didn't feel that feelingness of the chicken skin coming all over my arms. I didn't feel that raise. My hair's raising like, oh my God, he's here to save the day. That urge, that feeling. It never really quite happened. I cheered more when Wonder Woman saved Batman and Batman v Superman. I cheered more when he had that Trinity shot. And I just wished it had something like that. And I believe that making it darker, making it more hopeless is okay, because you are waiting for that moment to drive that hope home, that nail in that boom, that bam, that little topping, like that chef who pulls bam, that moment would come in, and it would be so much more effective, because that's your hope, that's your light bulb that everybody's going to look at it and says, there it is, that's what's going to save us. But because there's so many jokes and quippy one-liners, you never felt the need for a Superman. Like, they were kind of going okay on their own. And yeah, Superman was really powerful and stuff like that. But I think it would have been more effective to highlight him in having him that light against all the darkness. The movie tries to do that. They tease that. They put that in trailers, the one light and the darkness and stuff, and the one hope. But the movie never really did that. It was more very hopeful, and it had a lot of funny moments. They joked a lot, not joked a lot, but there was jokes here and there. So you didn't have the feeling of dread. You didn't have the feeling of danger that Steppenwolf was going to end it all. And so just looking at these concept arts just brings me to think that the original thinking, maybe Justice League Part 1 and Part 2, whatever, was going to be like this. The feeling of it, just the art of it, would have been much more nightmarish in that respect. So I don't know if we'll ever see it. I don't think we'll ever see that, and that's kind of sucks, because this new direction of hope and optimism, the movie's going to be all about hope and optimism. That's mean there's not going to be a dark moment in any of these movies. In order to feel that feeling of hopelessness, and making the heroes mean more hopeful in the light in the dark. I don't know. We'll probably never get that, and that's a real shame. But hopefully something will happen and our dreams come true, and the Snyder Cut will release, and maybe I'm just overthinking it, right? Maybe that's just, it was never going to look like this. So it changes so many, it's never going to look like this. Concept art is concept art, and usually the final product will never look like this. But I like to say that maybe it will look more like this than what we got in the theatrical version of the movie, or the version we have now. So anyway, what do you guys think about these new Justice League concept art? What do you guys think about Zack Snyder posting on Vero? Do you think he's actually hinting more about something, or it's really just in the background and it was just there, and that's where he works out, it's no big deal? Some would say that it's never a coincidence in his shots, but he never really shot that. I mean, he's the one lifting the weight, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully see more. Hoping for more hints and clues of something that may or may not happen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. A good Friday, guys. Hope you're all off just like I am. And then have a great, wonderful weekend. See you later. Bye.